everyone, Alana from Hoof Hen Homestead here. I'm trying to make our welcome and introduction video since we're just starting out as a new YouTube channel. I'll tell you, this is probably take 4 or 5. I thought shooting this out here in the barn would be a good idea, but so far I've had to flee the goats. I was originally out in the corridor and they kept knocking over the camera and climbing all over me. And I've had battered and bleeding by now because the barn cats have been climbing up my back. I'm learning that these animals do not like it when I'm out here and I'm not paying attention to them. So, here we go again. We are Hoof Hen Farm, and we're located in central Arkansas on 10 acres. It's just me and my husband Eric, and we've been here on our little homestead for about 2 years now. We bought, well, just over 2 years. We moved in February of 2018, and now it's towards the end of February, or the last day of February in 2020. A little background on us. We both have full-time jobs still. Like so many homesteaders, we wish we could do this full-time. We love this. This is not work to us, but we got to pay the bills and we got to feed the animals. So for the time being, we're still working our jobs. I'm in information technology and my husband works in maintenance and construction. You might say, for me, I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. My husband is a little bit younger than me, so he gets a little bit more slack than I do, and we've only been together about 5 years. I've always been interested in homesteading, and I actually grew up in Arkansas, just a little over a mile from here, and there's kind of a story behind that. I moved back here in 2012. I moved away when I was 25 in 1995 and spent all of that time living in metropolitan areas or suburban areas around Dallas-Fort Worth and Portland, Oregon. During that whole time, I lived in apartments and kind of cramped conditions, and I couldn't have a garden. Tried to have a balcony garden, but you know, that just doesn't work too well, planting in containers. So I really longed to move back here and get back to my roots. In 2012, I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I was getting tired of the long rainy winters and thinking about moving back to Arkansas and fixing up my grandmother's old place, which I decided to do. I started reading books about chickens and goats and just about anything I could get my hands on. So I decided to make the move, quit my job in the insurance industry, and move back here. So my mom flew out in May of 2012 and helped me drive back here with 3 cats. So when I arrived back in Arkansas, it was a little bit of a shock for me. I had some pie-in-the-sky dreams of moving back and fixing up my grandmother's old place, and I thought everything would be just grand here. And I got back, and it was a little bit of a culture shock for me. Even though I grew up here, I'd been away for so long, I'd kind of forgotten the way things work and how small of a town this is. So when I got back here, it took me a while to find a job, and of course, no job, no money, it's hard to fix anything up. And to boot, when I looked at my grandmother's old place, it was not as livable as I remembered. The barn was falling in, the pasture was overgrown with privet and shrub, and the house wasn't quite as livable as I thought. So I resigned myself to just working the daily grind again. Same stuff, different location. And I had moved in to a house next door to my mother that she had fixed up for my grandmother a few years earlier. My grandmother was then in a nursing home. So that was also a little bit of an adjustment for me. At the age of 42, my parental buffer zone went from 2,000 miles to 50 feet. And that was interesting. Of course, I moved back here alone. During the time I'd been gone, I'd been married for about 11 and a half years to, it was a pretty much soul-crushing marriage, but I'd been divorced since 2007. And when I moved back here, I really didn't think I would find anyone. I really didn't think I would ever marry again. And I certainly didn't think I could find anyone I could stand or even had anything in common with until 2015. By then, I was chugging along, working a job, the daily grind, and out of the blue, I met my husband, Eric, in Oklahoma, and moved here to Arkansas as a child and had been working in his family business for probably 15 years. And he was a house mover, so he had a lot of skills in construction and maintenance and tearing things down and building them up. And we met, and I was a little hesitant at first because he's a little bit younger than me, but as we got to know each other, we just clicked. We had absolutely everything in common. The same goals, the same dreams, the same principles, the same beliefs, and we just decided to make a go of it. So a year to the day after we met, we got married in the parking lot of the restaurant that we originally met at for our first date. I have notes over here, you probably can guess, and my barn cats are eating them. So, little side trip here. By the time I met Eric and we got together, my mom had actually retired, and she had the time and the resources to begin fixing up my grandmother's old place on her own, which she did. I think I've mentioned she's a formidable woman, and she went and did all the remodeling and started building up the fences in the barn and moved over with her little 2 Nubian wethers that she has and her cats. And the plan was for us to fix up the house that she'd moved out of and the house that I was currently living in. She was tired of remodeling and didn't want to spend the money or the time fixing those houses up, so she left it to us to fix those houses up, and the plan was for us to fix them up and then sell them and build a house of our own on the back part of her 10 acres so we could be closer to her as she gets older. We had a plan. We had houses to fix, and fix those houses we did. And Eric and I work really well together, but we put so much work into those houses. We had decided to fix the house up that my mom had been living in, and then move into it, and then fix the house up that we'd been living in, and then sell them both. So we did drywall, and we did flooring, and we did roofing, and we did drainage outside. We put all of this work into her house, her old house, and moved into it, and lived there about 6 months. And like I said, we had a plan, right? We were going to start selling houses and then build our own. Well, as a part of that plan, I did a little research on Zillow just to see what we might sell those houses for. We weren't looking to buy, but the cats are about to knock over the camera. But I got an email from Zillow one day, and it was 2017 in December, and it was a suggested house. It was a house in 10 acres, and they were having an open house. And I told Eric, I looked at the pictures and I said, Eric, you gotta look at this. I said, no, we're not looking to buy, but let's just go look at this property. And it was perfect for us. It had a small pond. It already had a barn and another kind of mini barn. It had a huge shop that Eric had already dreamed of. 10 acres. Oh, and there was a house too, but I'm not really interested in the house. So we thought, maybe we should consider this. And a really good point about this property, it was only a mile from where my mom had lived, so it's not too far away. I can still go over there and help her out. So we made an offer, and they accepted the offer. And in February, we moved in. There's a little bit of irony here, too, on this property. I actually saw this house being built back in 1983 when I was a kid. There's a cemetery right across the little road here, and several members of my family are buried there. And we were over visiting my grandfather's grave in 1983, and they started building this house, and I said, who would want to live there? It's right next to the cemetery. The house is scary. So it's ironic that it ended up being the perfect place for us. So we've been here about 2 years now, and we've made a lot of progress. We moved over with chickens, which that's probably a video in itself, the great chicken coop move of 2018, I'll call it. But since we've been here, we've had gains and we've had losses, and we've had really productive times and we've had some down times. We've added to our chickens. We've added ducks. We got 4 pigs as a farm warming gift from my husband's former boss, and we got our little goats in August of 2018. We've built a barn for them. We started out with a 10 by 10 kennel, and we've built fences, and we've cleared around the pond that was completely grown up. So we've done a lot of projects, and we still have a lot to go. So I'm hoping that you'll join us and grow with us. I'd like to show some of the projects that we've done and talked about what we've done, how we've done it, why we did it, and if we would do anything differently. And then go and show some projects that we're planning on doing and take you step by step. Maybe you'll learn a little bit. I'd like to show a little how-to and give a little inspiration. So if you are interested in joining us in our journey, I hope you'll click like on this video and subscribe, and we'll see you in the future.